official good morning. I just got back from doing the weekly run and I pushed to do 5Ks today, which I was intending on doing it from the very start, so I paced myself for that. And then by the first lap I ended up getting the worst stitch. I honestly just wanted to stop because it felt like I couldn't run properly. But then I told myself not to be a bitch and to do what I set out to do, and I just ended up pushing through to see how far I could get. Ended up finishing the 2 laps of the lake just. But so now I'm just home and I'm starving now, so I'm having my overnight oats, the strawberries and cream flavor, which is one that I've been experimenting with, doing some recipes for Ivy Nutra. So before I post it, got to make sure that it's actually good. But yeah, pretty much today's agenda. So it was actually me and Dylan's 10-year anniversary on the Thursday, and it's Sunday now. So Thursday being just a normal work day, I was a bit busy and we couldn't really, we did gym together in the morning, which was really nice, but we couldn't really do anything special on that day. So we've booked dinner tonight, which will be really fun. And other than that, I'm just gonna do my meal prep for the week as per usual. So I'll take you along for that. And then just get the place a bit organized, do dinner tonight, and then talk about probably my main lessons or learnings from maintaining a 10-year relationship as well. So yeah, this flavor is pretty good. Also, I'm definitely more of a chocolate caramel person. So I've been doing the caramel oats a bit more often during the week, but this one's good too. But I think I would probably lean towards making my caramel a bit more often. And that reminds me, gotta add chia seeds to my list of things to get because I forgot to get them yesterday. All right, just making some pizzas for lunch with this leftover dough that my family had the other night, and I realized I don't even have a rolling pin, so I've just been using this glass to push it out, and it seems to be doing the trick. So it just got completely stuck to the board and it got a bit deformed, so I thought I'd take advantage of that and just try and make it a little bit cute. So I just finished my meal prep and I'm about to sort of dish it all up and divide it all into containers for the week. So what I've been doing is just roast chicken and roast potatoes, which sounds super basic, but it's just something that feels really good on the gut and it's just super nutrient dense as well. So I'll show you what it is. So because I'm lazy, I just get a pre-seasoned butterfly chicken. This is the Greek one from Woolies, which is really good. So I'll just cut that up. And then for potatoes, I've just chopped up baby white potatoes and sweet potato. I boil them first until you can sort of pierce them with a fork and they feel nice and soft. And then you roast them for like a good hour or so. And I just coat them in olive oil, salt and pepper, and Italian herbs as well. And they come out really good. So divide those up and then I'll put some greens and lettuce mix with it, and yeah, that's pretty much meal prep for the week. Super simple and super easy to do as well. Just getting ready to go out, and I've only left myself 10 minutes to do it, which is so classic of me. But while I'm doing that, I just thought I would speak on reaching 10 years with our anniversary, some important lessons and learnings that I've sort of picked up along the way, because you do learn a thing or two. So I had compiled a bit of a list. Okay, I think one of the first most important lessons or things to expect, especially from a relationship that is quite long, is that it is so normal to have periods or times where you feel like you are growing apart. Because especially if the relationship is like in your late teens or even in your early to mid 20s, you grow and change so much in those years. And even for myself, I feel like in the last 5 years, I've lived so many different lifetimes, and I just feel like a completely different person. And that is going to be the exact same for your partner. Your partner is also going to change and grow and go in different directions. And that will feel very challenging at different points as well, especially if for a time you feel like the things you're wanting aren't exactly aligning at the same time. So I know that for Dylan and I, one of our most challenging times was right after high school. So that first year after finishing high school, obviously during high school you're together so much and the whole structure of it is very predictable and you know what to expect every year. And that first one over high school where you're really navigating it for the first time is very tricky. So we definitely had a good 6 months of just feeling very distant and like growing apart and feeling like we weren't going to work out, because we were both going in very different directions. Dylan was very much getting into the more of the tradie lifestyle at the time. I was going, doing uni and getting more into my health and my fitness as well. And it just felt like what we were passionate about and what we were valuing at the time wasn't exactly aligning either. And I know that it can feel like a very shitty, very scary sort of spot to be in, but I do encourage you, if you sort of been there or are going through something similar right now, is really just to write it out and just be true to yourself as well. Because in a way, having different interests and different values, yes, the values have to align, but having different interests is actually a great thing and a really important thing, because it means that you enrich the relationship in different ways, because you each bring in your different interests and can sort of like teach each other things as well. So having different interests and passions is not a bad thing at all. In fact, you do also need to be your own person to sort of really thrive in the relationship too. So you don't feel sort of like codependent either. So definitely have your own things and your own focuses. And you will find that you having a strong sense of self and having your own focuses, your own goals, will also feed back into your partner quite well too. So we just wrote it out. I spent some time in Europe, which wasn't like a personal choice. It just ended up happening where I was apart from Dylan for like a good month with my family over in Europe. And it was almost like that time apart, what is that quote? Time apart makes the heart grow fonder, something like that. And then when we came back from that, we were just like really inseparable ever since then. So just write it out. It is tough, it is scary in the moment, but it's really important to explore your unique interests and passions and stay really true to yourself. Quick check, how does that look from the back? It looks somewhat decent. Another thing that I feel like is really important to understand very early on is the whole concept of love languages, and knowing what yours is, how you like to show love, how you love to receive it, and then also how your partner sort of thinks about that too. Because often if we don't know how another person naturally expresses their love, and it's not something or the way that we expect to receive it, we may perceive that as them not putting in effort or a feeling of not being cared for, when actually they are. We just haven't known to look for it in that way. So get very clear on what that kind of style looks like for you. I think the 5 are acts of service, physical touch, quality time, words of affirmation, and gifts, I think, is the 5th one. So yeah, know where you sort of sit in those categories, figure out where your partner sits in those categories, and then if you naturally were to show love in a certain way that feels natural to you, but your partner prefers to receive it in a different way, try and tap into that a little bit more, and then that way it's hard to get resentful, especially when your partner is showing their love in their preferred way, and you can see that they are making effort, and you can acknowledge that and appreciate that too. So I know for myself, the way that I like to show it is I am an acts of service girl every day of the week. I love helping other people, but especially for Dylan, I love helping him with just like the household things. I love cooking for him. I love helping him with his meal prep, and just all the little ways to kind of make his life a little bit easier. So that is definitely my way, but I know that for him, he definitely prefers things like quality time and physical touch. So I'm just going to make sure that I remember that and also prioritize those things too. And then, but for myself in return, I would hate if his way was doing acts of service as well, because that would kind of clash with me a little bit, because I feel guilty if too many things are done for me. I prefer to be the one doing the things, so that would actually clash with me a bit. So knowing that the way that you prefer to receive love isn't always the way that you're going to show it as well. Another one is, especially if your relationship has been quite long, is that having it feel boring, or that there's like no conflict, actually isn't a bad thing. I think that's an absolutely incredible thing. The more peaceful and easygoing it feels doesn't mean that there's no passion or anything like that. It just means that you respect each other, and what you have is actually probably very, very healthy. So don't get into the trap of feeling like there needs to be constant conflict and challenge to mean that you're growing. I think that's a very chaotic way of thinking as well. So if it's peaceful and it's easy, no, overall it's been pretty easy.
How do you know so much about this stuff?
You
should have been easy for you as well, shouldn't it?
Oh, it has been, definitely, but it would be very unrealistic to think that it's just a smooth ride the whole entire time. And yeah, in the scheme of things, like, we haven't had any big dramas, which has been good, but I think it's just important to touch on the little things on why we've worked so well too.
Yeah.
And I think a big basis of it is that the foundation of our relationship has very much been friendship as well, because we're starting back from high school. We met when we were like 15, and we were really good friends first. Like, when I met you, I always sort of knew that we wouldn't be just friends. Like, I knew that I always wanted to be more than friends with you. But I feel like we spent so much time just like hanging out and actually learning and liking each other as people before we actually stepped fully into a relationship as well. And then I guess it's very different if you were in your 20s and things like that. Like, obviously things wouldn't be that slow, but we were only like 15 at the time, and we were both like nervous and didn't even know what to do. So I feel like the way that all sort of evolved and progressed was really, really special. And I think that has been such a important foundation of our whole relationship this whole time too, because we're just like best friends at the end of the day too. So yeah. One other lesson that I had around managing conflict, which doesn't really pop up for us very often at all, like maybe every couple of months there might be. So like, of course, like, we both have, or me in particular, I have moments where I get like short-tempered and whatever, but in terms of like actually facing like a disagreement on things, we don't really have that often. But one thing that I will say on that is, I feel like when conflict does arise or there is a problem, it's usually not about just one particular thing. It's usually a compounding effect of a bunch of little things, and there will be like one particular thing that pushes one or the other over the edge, and then that's when it becomes a problem. So when that does happen, I think it's really important in those moments to not speak when you're very like in the moment and very emotional about something, is to really just sit on it and really consider and get very clear on what it is in particular that you are actually upset about, because usually it's not the actual thing that's happened in the moment and the trigger. It's usually a whole bunch of things that are bubbling up in that moment. So, and I think that's why it's really important to remember that your partner's not a bloody mind reader, and not expecting them to know exactly what the problem is and things like that too. It's your responsibility to get very clear on what it is you're actually upset about, and then be able to communicate that properly as well. One other lesson that I would have in regards to moving out, because obviously the last 3 months is the first time that we've probably lived together full time too, which has been really fun. And it's definitely, I reckon it's been the best thing for us. And I've always said, because even though we're engaged and we've been engaged for a long time, and people would always like say, you know, when's the wedding or when you're going to get married, like that was like last on the list for us anyway. So moving out and having our own space to actually function properly as a couple and exercise our independence was always so much more important for us. And it's been amazing for our relationship the past 3 months as well. But I think a unique sort of realizations that has popped up from that situation, because I guess prior to that we were kind of living together in a way, but it was more, we still felt like kids at home because we were at home with mum and dad still, essentially. But now that we're kind of out on our own doing everything for ourselves, one thing that's popped up for me that is a really important lesson as well is learning not to keep score on certain things. So especially the general household stuff, like who's doing the household chores, who's paying for stuff, this and that. It's really important not to keep score on those things, and understand that you and your partner's capacity to do things is not going to be 100% all the time. And that is the whole premise of a relationship and a partnership, is being able to lean on each other in different times when different seasons are more demanding than others. And if so I understand that with Dylan, he's had a lot of overtime at work recently, and obviously that's been more demanding for him. So I wouldn't expect him to do an even amount of housework as what I am, because he doesn't have the capacity at it at the moment. And it's really important not to hold resentment towards that, then start keeping score on that and thinking, oh, they're not doing as much work as me around the house. That's where a lot of resentment can sort of creep in, which is not a great thing for your relationship either. So don't keep score on things like that. And other than that, I think they're probably the main things really. So yeah, we just arrived at Eastland. We're just going somewhere local for dinner tonight, and we're just gonna do that to celebrate our anniversary, and yeah.